The Truth Girls.
Hey everyone. Well, I was up till, 5 in the morning nursing my rabbit. So I had about 3 hours of sleep. As you can see, my place is a mess. I haven't fixed myself up. But I'm going to make this video anyway because this information needs to get out. As you know, the protests are still happening. People are marching around chanting, "This is what democracy looks like." That is not what democracy looks like. That is what chaos looks like. There's a petition circulating for the Electoral College to give their votes to Hillary instead because the popular vote. Been signed by, a couple million people now. I happen to know that quite a few of them are Canadian. So now Canadians get to tell American Electoral College what to do with their votes. Over 4 million people have signed this thing, and the petition doesn't care if they're from Canada or Cameroon. Where do people get this idea that you could just make this petition and completely disrespect and overturn a country's electoral process? It just seems so naive to me. Okay, Maryland's doing it. The petition people must be happy. However, the plan would only take effect if states representing a majority of the nation's 538 electoral votes decided to make the same change. And they won't. Apparently, there is absolutely no way that they'll overturn it and put Hillary in because let's go back to this. This is what democracy looks like. First of all, like I said, that's not democracy, that's chaos. Second, America is not a democracy, it's a republic. And when people are voting in the election, they're not voting directly for the president, they're voting for their representatives in the Electoral College. They're voting for whether they're going to have the Republican or Democrat pledged elector. That's what they just did. This is the system, and that's what you just voted for. Whoever voted in the election. That's the fact. And the system was apparently devised so that the less populous states would have more of a say, so that each state in the republic would be represented, and not only the opinions of the people who lived in the most populous cities like New York and LA and whatever. Otherwise, what's the point of having an election? Why don't you just ask New York and LA what they want? Oh, and Texas, Florida, just ask the big ones. Go by popular vote. I mean, who cares what everyone else thinks, right? But that wouldn't be fair either, because it's a republic. All the states matter. Even if they don't have a lot of people in, they matter. They're represented at the federal level. So it's not a democracy. Your stupid petition's not going to overthrow it. And Hillary Clinton's not going to be president. Now, there's another thing about these protests, which I'm actually really quite upset to see this. And I'm really upset. I'm sorry, I didn't sleep a lot last night. I'm really upset at the hypocrisy, because the protesters, when they're asked why you're protesting, they'll say because Trump is encouraging violence in America. Well, what are you doing? This isn't violence. It's turning violent. What is this? They're saying, oh, Trump doesn't respect women. Now there's a report of protesters stopping a pregnant woman from getting to the emergency at the hospital. They attacked her and stopped her from getting to the ER. How is this showing respect for women? Why don't you walk the walk and not just talk the talk? Because what kind of person you are is shown in your deeds. Look what you're doing. And Trump has now tapped three members for his cabinet. Okay, people are worried, oh, he doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect minorities, the black community, black people. He doesn't respect the LGBTQ community. Okay, he's tapped 3 people who fit into those 3 categories. A woman, a gay man, and a black man. So who's walking the walk, right? And meanwhile, the protesters are attacking pregnant women. And worse, there was one protester, I think it was in front of the Trump Towers or one of these buildings. I'll show you the picture. I'll find it. I'll put it up. Protesters holding up a sign that says, "Rape Melania." The Rape Melania sign was held aloft without any reaction by the estimated 150 Hillary Clinton supporters protesting the election of Trump. It was not until a lone Trump supporter waded into the protest and confronted the man that he took down the sign and fled. These protesters out in the street saying, we don't want Trump, he doesn't respect women, and somebody puts up a sign, rape Melania? I mean, I hope it was a plant. Speaking of plants, though, these protests, I mentioned before that they didn't just spring up out of nowhere. I mean, clearly, with the size, the scale, the level of organization, they have some backing. They have some professionals in there. They got some funding. Here's the Craigslist ad. There are lots of ads like this. They're hiring professional activists, professional protesters, paid $15 to $18 hourly. And of course, you have the buses that were used to bring them in. I showed you before that they're connected to a group, MoveOnorg, which is funded in part by George Soros. If you look at the signs that they're using, they were clearly printed by the same company who printed the signs for Justice for Freddie Gray, and for the BLM movement. No to Trump, no to racism and sexism. And thousands of these signs were printed out, and they're exactly the same. Apparently printed by the groups funded by Soros, the Creamer groups. If that's not enough for you, check this out. Here are the protesters, and they have a sign, Trump equals always racist. Yeah, except when he appoints Ben Carson to the cabinet. And there's a little phone number here on the sign, a texting number or something, 877-877. And then it shows you what that connects to, which is this United We Dream group. And guess who's the founder and chairman? It's George Soros. I mean, who is this guy? You know what, I think really that this was a great victory against the globalists. The globalists are really upset that Hillary didn't get in, and then they're just trying to stir up as much trouble as they can to create that chaos, because Trump is not going to be going with their agenda. George Soros is like a gremlin in the machine, just he's popping up everywhere. But it's engineered. And here's one example of something that Trump's going to be doing that's very, very different. And this is very serious. Okay, you know probably that in the Middle Eastern wars, the U.S. has a history of arming both sides of conflicts, of going in and vetting rebel groups and arming rebel groups, such as in Libya, and helping to using rebels to overthrow governments. And in some cases, they've even used former Al-Qaeda members, like terrorists, to overthrow government. The global war on terror with the terrorists. It's, I think, really just imperialism, going around overthrowing all these governments, right? Well, here's what's happening in Syria now because of Trump. Trump is no longer going to be supporting the rebels. He's not going to try to overthrow Assad. He's going to do what I would say is the right thing and step out of another country's self-determination. You don't go in and overthrow someone else. Now, Syria is allied with Russia and China. Now relations are going to be better between the U.S. and Russia, China. And Syria, they're going to straighten things up. But what they're going to do is they're going to be going after ISIS and dealing with that problem and not trying to use this as an excuse to overthrow Syria for their own interests, which is what the previous administration did all over the Middle East. And that is a really big change. And I think that's the kind of thing that the globalists really don't want to see, because they obviously have their plans for the Middle East. I mean, what gave the U.S. the right to overthrow Libya's leader? Or any other leaders? Or let's not forget when they went into Iraq and the first thing they did was all the industries that were nationalized, all the resources that were nationalized, they made those all privatized. Like the government that was put in there, the puppet government, privatized, all bought up by U.S. companies or multinationals. There's imperialism happening here. That's what the globalists want, because that's what George Soros is so sore about. You remember what Hillary Clinton said? She screamed she'd get that effing Lauer fired for this. Remember, referring to Donald Trump, Clinton said, if that effing bastard wins, we all hang from nooses. Lauer's finished, and if I lose, it's all on your heads for screwing this up. I think the globalists are truly afraid, and they're just going to sow as much chaos as they can. And then they're going to blame it on Trump. Don't believe it. And as far as the election goes, I heard that WikiLeaks had said they were going to have hackers monitoring the election, and if anything was going screwy, they would shut it down. So I believe that these results were real, and this is a republic in America. So this is a legit result for your election. It doesn't go by popular vote. Even if Hillary has more popular votes, it's going to be in California and New York. It's not going to change the election. And marching around the streets, attacking people, and causing chaos, that is not what democracy looks like. That is what it looks like when you have the globalists funding and fueling chaos. And I hope it comes to an end soon. And I pray for America to come together and to have peace. And I hope that Trump will do a good job. So let me know what you think. Thanks for giving me a thumbs up. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.